And then the next page is goes behind your public safety tab, so that replaces it. And you'll notice the changes for most of these pages I've highlighted in yellow, just so you're aware of what changed from one page to the other. And the one I couldn't do was the salary page because it was already multicolored.
So where's the salary go?
So behind the public safety tab, that's the combined schedule.
And just to let y'all know, the mics are on and we're streaming.
Recording is on.
And the third page is your police tab, so that police goes behind your police tab. And the fourth page is the council, that goes behind council tab, of course. Fifth page is the contracts, so that goes behind judicial. So that 5600 is judicial. That replaces the judicial contracts page. And the sixth page is community coordination, and that goes behind administration. Behind the top schedule, you'll see community coordination. And last but not least is the police personnel, so that goes behind the police tab under the salary. You'll see the multicolored page there. The change on this page again was the part-time beach patrol and parking officers, the consolidation of all of those positions under one line, and plussing that total salary for FY22 proposed to 80,000 in total.
You want these other pages?
Pardon?
You want these pages?
No, sir. You can just we can destroy those and shred those.
Somebody usually collects them and destroys them.
Me too. These are new.
Did y'all have any more of these notebooks?
Robin.
I need to trade out.
Oh, do you?
Or either I'm gonna go home and drill it out and put some. I'll fix it later.
We may have some in
We
the
have
trailer.
some extra
Do
folders.
we? Okay. Yeah.
I'll get it later.
Robin's very fastidious on how many she orders and exactly.
Well, the rivet didn't take on this one, so
Oh yeah.
it's a pain in the neck sometimes.
That should bring us up to date.
Thank you, Lee.
We can do this however y'all want. I figured since we kind of went through the nuts and bolts of it last time, I didn't know if y'all want to just jump into specific questions you had, or if you want me to roll through it like we did last time. I guess whatever y'all prefer.
Well, we got been through one time, so if you got any questions, ask the question. We don't need to be here all day. We can be here all day, but we don't need it.
We jump ahead and talk about the cardiac heart monitor and the AEDs. If anybody doesn't have anything for that.
Talk about it.
I've talked to the deputy chief some. You know, when you have a heart incident, there's usually two kinds. One is a heart attack, and that's where you have chest pains and the ache in your arm, and you usually have, it's called the golden hour. You got 60 minutes to get help before you do damage to your heart muscle. The other one is called sudden cardiac arrest, and that's where your heart just, the electrical impulses get messed up, and your heart just kind of quivers and doesn't beat. And there you don't have an hour, you have 6 minutes, the golden 6 minutes. So I think a better option for us is to go with AEDs that are Wi-Fi enabled. The chief sent out something after the last meeting that had, we went online and found they're $3,000 a piece. It would be my recommendation that we take out the $36,000 heart monitor that only a paramedic can use. That would be on one truck, and end up getting 8 AEDs. That would be the Wi-Fi enabled ones. That would be 2 on one on each fire truck, 1 on the rescue truck, 1 with the animal control officer, 3 for patrol vehicles, 1 for the deputy chief, and then to take the old ones that are not Wi-Fi enabled and put 1 here in the community center and the other 1 at City Hall. So in total, that would give us 10 AEDs. We'd have to purchase 8 at $3,000 a piece. That would be $24,000. I think the chief asked me, he said, if I had a heart attack, who would I want to come? You know, the paramedic with the $36,000 machine or the AED? And I said, if they arrived at the same time, I'd rather the paramedic with the 12 lead heart monitor. But chances are, more likely than not, probably 95% of the time, one of the police cars or one of the police officers is going to show up at my house before the big red truck does. And given that option, wait on the big machine or have a cop come with the automatic external defibrillator. I'll take my chance with the cop. I think it's all about getting there within 6 minutes, and I think it's going to be hard for that fire truck to get anywhere in 6 minutes. I mean, by the time they get dispatched, run down, it just, cops are out there, cops are on the street, and I think the police officer with the AED is more likely to be the first one there, and time is essential because of that 6 minute window. And that would be my recommendation, just to take out the 36 and put in 24.
Why would you want to do one or the other? Why don't you do both?
Well, right now we don't have any paramedics, or we have 1 paramedic, and there's no sense in buying a machine that's just going to be sitting on the truck waiting on paramedics. I think over the next year we can demonstrate if we can train paramedics, and 2, if we can retain paramedics. We're having a hard time retaining just police officers and firemen. And I think if we make them paramedics, they become even more valuable to other people. I'd like to see if we could, 1, train them, and 2, retain them.
Was the $36,000 device a requirement to get to ALS?
Yes, sir.
So if we don't have that device, we've made the decision then that we're not moving toward ALS.
It's part of the required equipment in order for DHEC to sign off or us being able. It's one of the steps.
And that's why I said, why don't you do, instead of either or, why don't you look at doing both? Because we've already taken the first step to go to ALS, now it's the BLS system. Now we need to take the next step, and you're gonna have to acquire more equipment, and instead of trying to get it all at one time, you can get it along and along, get some this year, some next year. You still have the AEDs to do what you're asking to do, and got the best of both worlds.
I think the question is whether we go to ALS or just stay at BLS.
That's the question, but
And I think the ALS is, it's a very intensive training where we lose guy for a year. we don't have the amount of calls to keep up with certification, and it's a very, people are gonna snipe our people left and right.
Well, I'll tell you what we're gonna do, guys. We're not gonna make a change to that in this budget until we sit in an open chambers at the council meeting. If you wanna change that, in the budget, you wanna take it out of the budget, I like the idea of fine, but like I said, add both, take both of them. We're gonna do that in an open council meeting, just like the good old days. We'll make a change then.
Why are we meeting today?
You can ask any questions, you can talk about it, but I'm just saying, we're not changing it in the
Oh,
budget.
okay, well,
I'm not saying you can't talk
we
about it.
just
We
changed
ain't
things in
gonna
the
vote on
budget
it
at the last
anyway.
meeting, though.
Huh?
We just changed things at the last meeting, didn't we?
But we're not gonna change.
I'm confused.
Let's understand one thing. This is not their budget.
I know,
This is my budget.
you're right.
So we're not gonna change, taking away steps to go towards something that's been in the strategic plan, something we've been talking about for years, and making moves toward ALS.
We've also gotten more information about it lately than we had in the past, too.
I don't think so. I think you've gotten the information in the past. I think everybody just all of a sudden decided, well, that's gonna be a lot to take on, and that's gonna be a lot of cost. And it's gonna be cost, and it's gonna be training costs, and it's gonna be people costs, and you're gonna lose people, yeah,
We can't,
just like
Okay.
everybody else loses people. I mean, so Charleston County and, the city of Charleston aren't short because they retain them people. You know, so as long as the nature of the beast is there where these guys can move around and think they make a little more money or maybe get another chance for more promotion
that's,
and they don't lose any of their benefits, then, you know, that's gonna keep on happening.
I completely agree with you. One thing that would be helpful for me to see is for us to be at parity with City of Charleston or Charleston County from the standpoint of how they compensate people that have those professional certifications. How much more we would have to spend just on salary and benefits would just be good to know. Then we don't have as much risk about being cherry-picked for our talent. Because I do think there's, while there's gonna be less activity here, that's both blessing and curse, right? The workload is lower for someone who wants to work here in terms of responding to emergencies. Then again, if they want to gather all that experience and rise through the ranks of a larger organization, then that's on the other side of that, but.
Yeah, we have that on both sides, the police department and the fire department. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast.
Right. Curse and blessing.
Yeah.
You wanna put the 36,000 in like a reserve account so that when we do get the personnel,
no, he doesn't want to change anything.
The money's
until we get
there?
the public meeting.
Well, if you wanna put it in a reserve account and the money's there, that's fine. But I'm just saying why, I don't think it has to be one or the other.
I don't think so either, but I think this is a incremental step towards ALS. I think this puts the machine out there, and if we wanna do ALS, but don't be buying equipment until we got the boots on the street. And if you wanna
Yeah.
maintain our ability to do that, then 36,000 in a reserve account, and then when we have the 4 operational paramedics, then buy the equipment.
And that's fine.
I'd be okay with that.
Just write that down for Tuesday, not this Tuesday, June 8th.
That's the second reading or first reading?
First reading. The second one's like the 22nd. I was thinking it was tomorrow night, but it ain't.
That's what I was watching.
Okay? Do you have some more questions?
Not if we're waiting till
Police
Tuesday.
department, fire department?
I mean, if we're not changing anything in the budget, I'm good today.
I'm not saying you can't change anything in the budget, I'm saying you're not gonna change anything that's been in the strategic plan that's that important to the residents of the island today. We'll do that in the open session, in the discussion, in the council meeting.
I'm with you.
Now, if you wanna change something in the garbage pickup, or you wanna change something that you wanna pay them more money or something like that, that's different. But that's a good point you brought up. I don't think do you have an idea what it would be?
Yes, sir.
I mean, I know you've looked at it before, right?
Yeah, no, yes, sir. I didn't bring that specific information with me today, but yes, something we've looked at. I believe Deputy Chief Burke mentioned it last time too, and he might be able to speak to it further, but I believe Mount Pleasant is a $10,000 addition once you reach ALS or paramedic certification. I'm not 100% sure. Do you know what the city of Charleston is for theirs?
I think they're pretty comparable to Mount Pleasant, that they pay their paramedics $2,000.
Okay. And Charleston County just had that vote. They're trying to be more competitive with their salary and benefits, so that's something that's recently changed. We could probably get some updated information on that.
So in our system right now, if you got to be a paramedic level, where would you be?
Currently, there was a suggestion made last work session talking about adding it to be $7,500 to our stipend, existing stipend program. Currently, paramedic is in there as well as EMT. It's $1,500 for EMT and $2,500 for paramedic right now.
A year.
A year, yes, sir.
So that gives you something.
1/4 of where they need to be to compete with some of the others.
You know, like we said, paramedics, whoever gets to be a paramedic, we're gonna have to work out a deal with somebody, which would probably be medical university or somebody like that, where they can go work in emergency rooms or whatever for skill training, skill level maintenance.
How long will it take for someone to become a paramedic, like they say, I would like to do it? Is it a couple of years?
We just had one firefighter started paramedic course in April, and by next April, 1 year,
So 1 year.
through Low
To
Country.
where he's
Well,
fully.
it actually takes more than a year, because you gotta be an EMT first.
Well, this boy is the.
No, I'm just saying, so her question was, if you just walk, said, I wanna do it, you're cold, you're just starting
Well,
fresh.
what we have to work with now, like what
Yeah.
we would start with, okay, you can try it, you can try it, you can try it, you know, where does that, is it a year from now that we can expect to have people trained, they've shadowed other departments and ready to rock? Or is it a year, they're ready, but then they go shadow somewhere?
At what level?
Well, at a paramedic.
At paramedic level. I said, we got one captain, fire captain, that's going through the recertification process, hopefully to get his medic license back by December this year. Firefighter EMT that just started the paramedic course April 21st, I believe it was. He got until next April, and he'll be going to school until next April, and then test for the national certification at the paramedic level, and then he will be a paramedic. And then we have the recertification training that goes on monthly, and we can get that arranged through EMS, Mount Pleasant, or anywhere else to keep the certification.
Once they've gone through the year course.
Once they get certified as a paramedic through national registry.
So it's basically a year from now that we will be able to use some of this.
In other words, yeah, well, we're not gonna be able to use the ALS system next year either. We got to go to the ALS system. We got to have at least 5 paramedics on board, on the
So by
roster.
next April 2022, we'll have one.
We'll have 2 full-time paramedics hopefully,
Okay.
and we have 2 part-time paramedics now. But we're gonna shoot for the other 3, the full-timers, to go through the paramedic course, so we'll have 5 if we go to the ALS system. So it may take another year from April 2022 to say April 2023 to get 3 more certified as paramedics, current EMTs that we already have. Then it takes another year, 2022, 2023 to get them certified.
If anyone leaves and then we're back.
And while they're going for training, we don't have them on patrol, correct?
Huh?
While they're going for training, we don't have the ability to really use
No, they
them
still work
full-time.
for sure. They're still working.
So they're working full-time and
Yeah,
going to school.
yeah, and going to school.
It's a big ask.
And then go to school. Huh?
It's a big ask.
Well, and they committed to that.
Well, you find most of them that go through
They
that
have
whole
committed
system,
to that.
EMTs and paramedics are working somewhere else, it's set up for that.
Well, they're gonna be working somewhere else.
No, I'm talking about a full-time job. Anyway,
There's a lot more discussion that could be had.
Oh, there's several.
Okay, but
Let's wait to next month.
let me just give you an example. trouble, and you as an EMT know that they're in trouble. And before, back then, we couldn't do certain advanced procedures that we now can do as EMTs and progressing on. But when that patient's talking to you when you first walk in there, and that patient dies before your eyes, because you standing there as an EMT, you can only do certain things. You can't do advanced medicine that we can do now today, and to increase the do ALS. And Mount Pleasant started in 2005 going to ALS. In 2007, they were ALS for their city. City of Charleston, just in the last 4 or 5 years, started, and now they're ALS. So that's just my take on it, and I'm very passionate about it, that the more we can improve to provide more early definitive care and medical care to a patient within the city of Folly Beach, I think it's a worthwhile process to go.
Which is exactly the case for doing the AEDs before you do a $36,000 heart monitor. It's exactly the case.
I don't think any of us are putting a slide on people's safety out here, but there's a lot that comes into it that maybe you're not thinking about the bigger picture.
And
In all honesty, I mean, there's not one of us that does not care about public safety. Not a single one of us that doesn't want to save lives.
okay, I just answered the question. And just a technical point about the AEDs and the $36,000 cardiac monitor. EMTs can use that $36,000 cardiac monitor to go ahead and transmit a 12-lead EKG to the hospital on a heart attack patient. The AEDs is just a 3-lead, and I've got more information on the AEDs. If we could do both of them, that would be great. So just as a technical. Okay?
And then I know the,
That's just my opinion and pleasure. But, you know, y'all are the decision makers, okay?
That's right.
All right.
so I know the question was asked in the last meeting with regard to retention. Do we have other instances where we have contracts with employees whereby if we train them, they're required to stay for X period of time? If not, could we do that with some of these individuals we train up? I don't know if that's a Joe Wilson question.
That would be a legal question.
I think it would be important if we're gonna invest in
The
them.
one, it's not a contract, it's a semi-contract, we want to call it the police department. So if you train a policeman from scratch, and it's what, 2 years, if they don't work for you for 2 years, they leave you and go to somebody else, you can get some of that money back from the agency they're going to. So,
Okay.
but I don't, the firefighters are not in that situation, and the paramedics are not in that situation, or EMTs are not in that situation.
Yeah.
That I know of.
And on our side, if we send you to school or pay you for a course or tuition, you have to stay for a year, or you have to pay it back.
You're like half.
That's what I forgot, we put that in. Okay, any more? I guess you're off the hook.
When's it at?
Today. Who's next?
That's for revenues.
Please next.
I guess this would be the opportunity, because we are currently needing $20,764 by my calculation, to ask the question, do we want to dip into or raise revenues to match that deficit, or do we want to look at some other methodology of balancing the budget?
So the 10,000, sorry.
Why do we, what is the,
So currently, based on the changes from last meeting, after putting all the asks in, the balanced budget now has a deficit of
The 10,000 was for the 50th,
yeah, okay.
and then the other 10,000 was emergency preparedness. I don't remember, I was here for public safety, what was that about? Is it more ALS stuff? It's just, I mean, I wouldn't even talk about that at all, and all of a sudden it's on the sheet.
What was it,
You wanna
what was
keep that
it?
page?
The net page is what I was examining, but what he's referring to is the, police emergency preparedness, that $10,000 they added. That,
I don't remember us discussing that at all.
what was that note? What did you add? 10K, special project reserve if we needed, no, that's special projects. It's on the public safety, right?
Budget notes.
So, special projects reserve.
1 second.
To potentially increase the pay for the beach patrol.
Uh,
Included in the reserve account.
Okay, yeah, so the, increased salary for beach patrol from $12 an hour to $15 an hour for future years, we put that $10,000 in there for that particular use.
And you listed it as emergency reserve?
I put it in
Why?
the emergency reserve. It was an available reserve, that was, seemed appropriate.
So it's not the increase, the 3,000 and some odd change that we gave them for this year to take them to 80,000.
It's not.
That's
it's
an
additional.
extra 10 just in case that we're putting in a reserve account.
Right.
I think we could scratch it off at the beginning and only go up a little bit. I mean, we didn't discuss that last time. That's, you know, 6 to
I
9.
thought we said we were gonna increase the herd and see if we couldn't get people that would
They're
work
right,
for a day
that's-
or two
yeah.
at the $12 that we
Yeah,
had.
we just gave them, you know, another $4,000 almost to work with. We can scratch that 10 and see how it goes first.
Summer started.
I mean, yeah, for sure.
It's
Well,
done.
we had to discuss it somewhere.
Well, we
did.
discussed it,
But
yeah.
we didn't discuss
Yeah.
putting $10,000 in another account.
We had to.
Yeah, yeah, we did.
Yeah,
Oh.
we did, because we had to, because she had notes on it.
Yeah. It was
So
re-
it was discussed.
research total cost of increasing per hour pay to $15 rather than 12.
To research the total
Put
cost.
10K in a special reserve in case we need to increase pay.
Okay, I'm absolutely fine taking that out. Y'all feel, I see 3, 4 heads nodding yes.
I don't care about that.
But we're
So-
not gonna have a cap for the number of public safety.
No, we're still at 80,000 for beach
They
management.
tend to go under budget most years that I've seen it.
Well, like you said, we're also, yeah. By the time they go to use that money, they won't use all that money before the budget runs out.
And it takes about a couple, 3 weeks to get somebody up and running and
Yeah.
trained and.
So there's 10 if you need to address revenues. I mean, you know you can always go with parking tickets, pay parking. I mean, that's just a given every year.
And just for note taking, let's completely remove that 10, not change it to 5 or just completely.
Completely remove it.
So you can't use paid parking.
So use your parking tickets, so guys are Nazis out there.
You have to take, if you wanna think about paid parking money now, you have to take it out of like beach reserve fund or beach walkover maintenance fund. Take that 10,000 out of there, move wherever you want to, and then you take the paid parking money and put it into the walkover.
Just add the parking tickets.
It's just watch the P, but it's a matter of,
I know, that's what I said, just add the parking tickets.
you know,
You know very well we're gonna make money on parking tickets this year with them doing the work. There are more horse tickets out there than cars got liver pills.
I don't.
This
doubt-
weekend was amazing. They're everywhere.
So you all wanna raise to 190 from 180 parking tickets?
Whatever the money needs to be to make, it's like, cause it's an odd number, but whatever we need it done, 13,600 and something, whatever it is.
Well, after the, removing the 10 in emergency preparedness, we're now at $10,764.
$10,764, raise it $10,764, let's call it a day.
So far,
Can we call it 11?
Why?
Because of that odd odd number.
But it's gotta match up, either way we look at it, it
Right.
does have to match up, so what's,
Well,
I mean,
That's true.
what's,
You can't skip the pennies in your budget.
right, you gonna put $40 in your pocket?
Well, we also thought that, business license was, underestimated.
Oh, yeah.
Had that starred as well as the parking.
But as of now, it's balanced. So if we're not adding anything else anywhere, you know what I mean?
So
Unless
you
y'all wanna
got-
add like a PSO spot.
You got any more for revenues, expenditures, general government?
No changes there.
I texted Eric and asked him to head over here for Public Works. While we wait on Eric to come over, I can highlight one change to the judicial department. And that's under judicial contracts, and that's raising the prosecutor contract from 25,000 to 5,000.
To 30,000.
Sorry,
Yeah.
raising it by 5,000 to 30,000 from 25,000. And that's based on the last couple of years. Traditionally, we've been over once or twice, or we've had to ask him to dial it back towards the very end of the year to kind of push things over. So, to avoid that situation, we asked to raise that 5,000. And then just as a note for you guys, his contract is up with us in June, so you guys will need to reappoint or appoint someone new in June. And we've advertised that. We haven't gotten any takers yet, so I imagine he may be our only applicant, but that will happen in June. So when you see that on the agenda, it's just because his term is up.
Was that 5,000 included in the 20,000 offset, or is that 5,000 gotta be found?
No, that was part of our change sheets, so that was all included.
So what's the new number for parking tickets?
New number is $190,000 and $764. 190,764.
I'm just gonna text everyone and tell them we're a little ahead of schedule to come on over.
This is gonna go real quick.
Lee, will you give me that big monkey number again?
$190,764. That's parking tickets. Parking tickets. 4,300. 1,000 is the GL number.
Story time.
Mhm.
I know usually,
It's the library story time.
I know, but when usually when you have story time, a lot of them didn't talk. Maybe the older ones are out now or something. Little ones.
I guess we don't have the
Either they didn't talk or
Five-year
they already
strategic
used
plan
story
in front of
word
us,
for
then
word. They can recite it if you would all. Like,
because I know there's
some of
questions
Dr.
in there.
Seuss's books.
I know there's questions in there. A lot of staff work there.
You know what's gonna happen next.
Everyone, Kyle, Colleen, and Eric, I let them know that we're early. So.
So Kat, you go out there and help them, you
They're
got
having
training this
fun,
weekend,
man.
right?
Yeah. I
You ought to
can.
hang out.
Yeah, she had her, what, 3 under 3? You had, with your nephews and what?
Oh, yeah.
3
Yeah, 3 kids under 3 with my whole family there, so it's all of the adults and everybody, but they kind of took over.
this weekend.
This weekend.
Yeah, it was a lot. They were all trying to outdo each other, and there was a lot of stiff competition of who gets the most attention.
If you take Oreos, wipe the cream out, put toothpaste in them,
Oh,
and take soap bars and wrap in chocolate, they love that kind of thing.
They will never forgive me.
My youngest nephew just discovered
Never
French fries.
trusted I was telling somebody about that the other day. The funniest part was how they ate the second one. I was like, he knew it was toothpaste and then he still ate another one.
You had to open it in the mouth.
He was, you know, he's like, there's toothpaste in here. Then he picks up another one and eats it. And I'm like, dude.
I think he thought he just got done
That's,
bad.
you know,
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna give
First
one
was
more
on,
shot.
second was on you, man.
Oh, the poor bird was like, DJ, which voice that's this year? Wait a minute. What is this?
Are we still on track for our first meeting in June to be in the new city hall?
I hope so. Our story time's gonna come to budget meeting.
We should have bankers here, should be good for tomorrow. Yeah, so we'll have the bankers kind of talk about the investment strategy, the beach preservation funds this meeting in May.
Who we go to? Who?
BB&T, the
BB&T.
people we bank with, so it's kind of part of their.
For the work session?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll be there.
I might be late for the work session, so y'all just carry on. I got another meeting with some folks in public safety at 6 for a few minutes.
Want soda? Anybody want a soda?
I can get it for you.
Minnesota, where'd you come from? New Jersey?
Man, Pop is New Jersey.
Or Atlanta, in Atlanta, everything's Coke, so even
Yeah,
if
I'll
it's,
take one of your
even
Coke.
if it's orange, you like orange
What
soda.
flavor?
Ask
Yeah,
for
you
orange
say
Coke.
Coke, what flavor? It's, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we all know why that's in Atlanta. That's where they started.
Soda and a pack of nabs.
I believe Pepsi was New Bern, North Carolina. That's where Pepsi
Yes,
began,
yeah.
the pharmacy.
An RC Cola and a moon pie. Or Pepsi and peanuts.
I have not acquired a taste for moon pies.
Nobody acquires a taste for moon
No,
pies.
no.
It's just something you have to go through.
But they do have a good shelf life.
You have to,
Like,
Yeah, like Twinkies.
Like Twinkies, yeah, forever.
not as long as Twinkies.
No.
Twinkies are good.
There is
after
no
the
sell by date.
No.
Yeah, Twinkies last after the nuclear holocaust. Moon pies, you either have to like marshmallow, you like them, or you don't like marshmallow. You don't like
Yeah.
them.
I attended,
Yeah, I do not like marshmallow.
I'm not a big.
I attended a wedding years back where it was glazed or iced on the outside, but it was all moon pies stacked on the inside.
Oh, what a deal.
No, it's not
Not
good.
even Krispy Kreme donuts, moon pies. Good.
Where was this wedding?
Somerville.
You say Saluda, okay, that makes sense. I'll say Saluda.
Salute of North Carolina. Yeah. Green River.
At least they're removed from the plastic bags, individually wrapped.
We had some of the new Your Mama's Donuts on John's Island.
Some the other day,
Opened
my
up.
aunt brought some in. She brought us whole box up. She's like, "Oh, there's some." I'm like, "I can barely eat half of one." I was like,
It's hard to eat one.
I'm like,
I mean,
yeah.
they're just, but the
dense.
toppings are just,
They're
yeah,
good.
bacon on yours. John's Island, over the bridge,
By
Maybank,
Shawnee.
Maybank Highway, across from Fat Hen. And that little,
Oh,
next to the Irish
gen-
bar.
Oh, yeah.
the little general,
Oh yeah, I like
Crazy
that
House.
place. Southern Generals.
Southern General, right beside Southern
Good place for
General.
sandwiches.
Okay. So what are these donuts? Are they?
They're square donuts with a little hole in it, but they put these different toppings, every day changes. And have a variety, like 5 different toppings every day, but they test run these things and they're just absolutely wonderful. Caramel, like a carrot cake,
Oh, healthy donut.
the bacon, oh yeah, they're
We can put broccoli on it. Yeah.
healthy.
Can we
You gotta
broccoli
run
on
back
that?
Yeah,
across the
yeah.
bridge.
I don't think there's. You can't make a donut healthy.
I love broccoli.
It's just, I mean, it's just sugar and fucking flour.
Let's take a heart monitor with you when you go.
Take your aid.
Yeah.
There you go.
Council, like, open, like, meeting or something, so it's not official.
Fat,
Courtesy ride. Yeah.
Fat Hen will soon be no longer.
What's that?
Fat Hen,
Yeah,
I know.
They've been
They're
for sale
gone.
for a couple months.
yeah.
That's one of my
Been
faves.
business for a while though, Fred.
They're ready to retire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's.
He's got a cash out.
Blue and opened that place.
I was at Wild Olive not too long ago, and I believe there's some common ownership there. People were asking questions of the staff, and it sounds like you know a lot more about this than I do, but the restaurateur from downtown bought that location,
Bought the.
Fat Hen location, and he's gonna, is it something
Monero.
Monero. He's gonna
In
make that,
Spanish.
he's gonna make that a Monero. I think he just wanted the location.
Yeah.
There's a lady, I think, who lives down here, the architect designed the interior for the one downtown. I think she's got the house on Fifth Block West.
Is Monero open downtown still? I think it closed.
Did it?
Yeah.
Closer to the pandemic, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if they ever reopened. Maybe that's why they wanted to.
Yeah, maybe that was just
Yeah.
a leased location.
Looks like Florence has closed theirs downtown and opened up
Yeah.
up here, which is awesome too, by the way.
That'd be cheaper rent.
Collard greens is on point.
You can have all my
Good.
Yeah, mine too.
Oh,
Really?
oh, they're good. Do not add vinegar to it.
They got the,
Hot vinegar?
they got the pork fat in there?
Oh, yeah, and no stems,
Kim loves
zero stems.
Kim would be there, that's her choice of side.
Oh, yeah, double up.
It's always the case that the better the collard greens, the less healthy they are.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Of course, of
Yeah, of
course.
course.
Southern cooking.
Not wait for everything.
Well, if it ain't pork and bacon grease, it ain't
Yeah,
good.
yeah, that's right. My grandma used to fry them in bacon fat. And they'd come out, it's just,
Why what?
collard greens.
Collard green?
Yeah, fry them up.
I never had them fried.
Yeah,
I had in,
it's kind of a braised. I mean, they just take them and, once they cook them, they throw them in a hot grease pan and just kind of shake them around. It's kind of like cabbage.
I called and texted everyone.
Urgent.
Yeah. Like, a little flat-footed being so far ahead of schedule.
Like potato chips, yeah, they're good. My dad does.
Every now and again, I see that version of a Caesar salad, which is really just like the romaine stock where they singe it.
Yes, they cook it on the grill. It's
Which doesn't-
awesome.
You think it's awesome?
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't know,
it
it
gives
doesn't
a
make a
good
lot of
smoky
sense
flavor
me.
to it, yeah. With anchovies, I'm in.
Colleen's on the way, Eric's on the way, Aaron Stransky's on the way.
Guess I'm too much
I'm hungry.
the traditionalist, obviously.
What's for lunch?
Planet Follywood, we're getting a whole smorgasbord. We've got fried chicken sandwiches. Let me pull up.
It's not just fried chicken sandwich, thank you.
No,
Sanders.
there's,
Oh,
It's got sriracha coleslaw on it.
So Colonel Sanders?
Yeah.
Not like that log you gave me, is it? Not like that log you gave me?
No, it's different.
All right, Stransky,
Did you-
you're
did you get
first
the
to arrive,
same?
so you can go first. Come on up.
Yeah.
yeah, we got the.
Everybody got the same thing, don't worry.
We got the Colonel Sanders, we got the OG BLT, the Dagwood Club, the All American Burger, and then some house salads to choose from.
hungry.
I'm gonna go with the salad.
So y'all pick first, because I eat all of them all the time. So whatever's left, I'll eat.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning, everybody.
You have any questions for IT?
I noticed on the budget here, the capital, you don't have any capital needs for 22 budget?
Broken them out.
That's right, they did break it
Broken
out
in
to a different
departments,
department.
wherever
Right,
the department's
remember
at,
that.
we'll,
Thank you.
oh yeah, there's capital.
Oh, is there?
It's just spread out under every
Spread out
tab.
It goes back to where, it goes back to.
Yeah, who it was requested, gotcha.
phone system work?
I don't think anything that would fall
Under
in,
capital?
into capital.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was probably such a big, capital expense because we bought it in totality. Like there's all the systems, but the individual pieces, you know, like a phone's a couple $100, and so I don't foresee any.
Okay.
Is
So it's
there,
all gonna work when we go back over there and figure out where to put our furniture.
I mean, is there any wood?
Yeah.
No, yeah, it should work. I think, I'm hoping that people will be delighted, you know, and surprised when we get over there. I think everything will work, very well.
we're taking delivery of the fire trucks in this next fiscal year, correct? No.
I don't know how fast they can get them.
I thought they were coming in, we got them on order, I think. Is that correct, Lee? The fire trucks?
They are on order and expect delivery around October.
Okay. Do we have allotments there, or any upfitting from the IT department needed for fire trucks at all?
Trying to spend money.
So,
I mean, if you get a brand new fire truck and they need outfitted and you don't have the money, that's not a good thing.
The best buyer wants to give money away.
we got, you know, a couple tough books to go on the trucks. So I think those should be taken care of for the new trucks. However, there might be a question of specific mounts. You know, I don't know the inside configuration of this truck. And that and the radios is about all I could see from a IT
But
perspective.
there's a budget for those items, or,
I believe it's in public safety.
okay, okay.
And the trucks is like, I said, I don't know when you're gonna get them, because right now, you can't get parts for cars. You can't get batteries for golf carts. I mean, it's just the way things are from the
Yeah,
COVID delivery
difficult.
system. You know,
Supply
so
chain is damaged.
As bad as parts and pieces are getting in, I don't know about, it might be later on.
Yeah, but I would assume it sometime, hopefully, in the next fiscal year.
Now, if you're trying to find, you know, areas where money may be beneficial to spend on for equipment, one thing I debated on putting under capital expenses was a thermal camera for the drone. And, you know, the mindset was for a few different reasons, mostly public safety related as far as search and rescue, but there's other use cases as well for fire and maybe some in the building department as well.
What's the cost of the thermal camera?
I think it's about $9,000. So it's a pricey item. However, if you look at the cost of launching a helicopter and also the time frame,
We don't have
you
a
know.
helicopter.
No, but we have to call
Let's not put
Charleston
that in the
County.
budget.
It's what?
Let's not go adding that to the budget.
For a helicopter?
I mean.
For something like that, I think we're just depending on the Coast Guard and the county right now. But, you know, if they think they need thermal imagers for fire department, they have handheld thermal imagers. They're a lot cheaper than that.
How many drones do we have, and do we use them very often?
So we're still rolling out with what's called the Part 107 training, and so that's for to be certified by the FAA. But we have one main drone, and then some small cheap ones. And the idea was to have some readily available for each squad or for each, you know, shift, and then the larger one would be for you know, things like search and rescue, lost boater, lost child, or in some cases, it was the building department to do some surveying as far as construction going on. And then one of the other ideas was incorporating GIS, so the mapping into it. And one of them would be doing some mapping of the island and then be able to show month by month changes, for instance, beach erosion, and be able to see, you know, over time, exact overlays of where that how progressive the erosion gets.
So who's currently certified to use them?
No one. So we have a couple people with training, but no one able to, be fully certified by FAA to fly, like with, for instance, over people or for some of these events.
Is there a timeline getting there?
I would say probably first quarter. With COVID, some of the training got affected because it tends to be in person.
First fiscal quarter of next year?
Of this fiscal year.
Okay.
I think, it's not a difficult class. I think it's a couple days, and then the testing for it, we're still trying to figure out, I guess, cost benefit as far as who to send. Do you limit it to one person per squad? Do you have one person per department? And is it going to be used in daily operations, like for instance, to search and see if somebody's on the pier because it set off the alarm at night, or is it going to be reserved for major incidents or something that's not time sensitive, if that makes sense?
Does the drone have talk capability?
It does not. There are some that do, that have like a back and forth microphone, yeah.
Right. Yeah, because that could be, obviously I'm hearing, as we all are, from people who are observing individuals smoking on the beach, drinking on the beach, and as we know, the beach patrol, can't do much about that other than radio it in, and if we have two public safety officers on staff, that could be a great, it would be invasive, but a drone drops in, and especially if it could talk,
Mhm.
issue the same warnings, like, sir, you're smoking, ordinance number says you can't.
Somebody can shoot that. And I know a couple people in this room that might do it.
One way to skin that cat if we need it.
And the thermal camera would pick up on the hot cigarettes.
Pick up one piece of lead too.
That's true. Yeah, but that absolutely could be a use case, and that's for some of these smaller ones. And like you said, it may be somewhat invasive, so it depends on. There'll have to be policy established, but is that one of those things that if they're smoking on the beach and it's a good distance away, you just launch a drone real quick to see if there's anybody in the vicinity of where a call came in, and those things will probably have to be dictated with policy.
Police officers and they're all busy, who's gonna launch the drone?
Yeah, I mean, so
Yeah.
In my mind, it's almost to get a bird's eye view, so you can get the high ground and kind of look around. And then some cases, like I said, the pier where you have to walk, it's a long way, or the Coast Guard base, when you get reports of a bunch of people out there. And that would be for like the routine operations. Obviously, the big ones would be search and rescue or a lost boater or some kind of identification.
Or escape warrant, marshlands.
Yeah,
Exactly.
What's the range of our drones?
I think it is roughly 3 miles, 3.5 miles. It depends. Like if you're on the beach, you're getting a lot more distance. It's like 3 to 5 miles, but 5's best case. That's like kind of line of sight, not a lot of trees around, but it goes pretty far. And then it's got a speed of around 45 miles an hour.
So we got some more folks here, got any more from Mr. Francie?
Mary, do you mind if we hear from community coordinator next? All right, Colleen?
Thank you all. You must like me. I didn't go through the crucible.
Not as bad as you think it is.
Hello, everyone. Happy Monday.
And to you?
Did you have a nice Mother's Day, Amy? Yes. So, any questions? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Is that how this goes?
Yep.
Which tab is this?
It's in the administration tab.
It's one of the ones we changed out.
It'd be quicker probably to go from the back. It's the second sheet from the back in the community, or in the administration tab. So right in front of the elections tab. And just, to highlight and review for those folks watching, the big change here, really the only change here from the last work session was we added $1,000 to what was previously Mutt Mitts, and now it's renamed to the Bucket Brigade Litter Volunteers.
Oh, is it?
To kind of broaden that.
Bucket Brigade. Which I've ordered buckets, by the way.
Good. The yellow.
Well, I have it, it's in my cart. Buckets, grabbers, gloves. Yes, so far. T-shirts on the way, maybe. We'll see what's up with that.
I don't have any questions.
All right.
No?
It's clear.
Any questions for Colleen?
Almost 2 years old.
Thank you,
Oh,
Colleen.
okay. All right, that was
Good luck with your
easy.
boot.
Yeah.
Colleen might lose her boot today.
Oh, please, please, Lord, please. See you guys. Have a good day.
You too.
Stay on the good foot.
Eric, you ready? And Katie is also here with Eric, so, and Katie kind of runs through several departments, so anything Katie related, she's ready. She's ready.
Do we wanna make room for her?
Yeah. Well, let's see.
You wanna grab?
You just come on up here, Katie. You just sit in my chair, it's more.
People can stare at the back of my head.
Yeah, no, it's fine, I'm good. I've got my notes, that's all I need.
Sorry, I've been out in the field with some of those county crews this morning. AJ, you'll be happy to know they're back in, almost done. Do we have any particular questions right off the rip?
So there was a FAB-sponsored study performed of the litter on Center Street. I know the results have been shared with us. Is there any near-term plans to at least make a decision about whether to support that?
I can speak to that. They wanted to come to city council and do a presentation. We're not sure what their ask is gonna be. Unfortunately, they let us know that a couple days after the agenda closed. So in June, they're gonna come back to you. They met amongst themselves. I believe they're extending their pilot project to run for a couple more weeks. And then in June, they'll be coming back to the city to give you guys a report. We have not identified what, if any, their ask is gonna be. Whether they're gonna keep funding it between FAB and CVPC and keeping it away from the city, or they're gonna be asking the city to take over it and manage it. We don't know. We haven't nailed down their ask, but you'll be hearing from them in June.
So too late for this budget cycle, if even needed.
Yeah, sorry.
Jerry, thank you for sending that repair schedule broken out by vehicle.
Oh, okay.
That was very helpful. And have we added to that anymore, or anything since you sent that schedule out? Anything significant?
Yeah, I think we got a bill in for about a $20,000 repair on one truck since, I think that
Since
came
then?
in right after that went out. I think, I might have included it, but I'm not, it was kind of on the cusp.
So we'll be over budget on current budget.
We're already over budget.
Yeah, I know that, but we'd be more over budget.
I think, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're killing this
Lee was
thing.
away on army training and thought there was an explosion when that built.
So trying to keep track of it. 'cause I know-
Yeah.
I can update that spreadsheet though and send it back to you guys.
Okay,
just
thank
for
you. It was just helpful to
reference.
see. It was interesting to note that the older vehicles required less maintenance.
Sometimes that's the case.
The new ones, it was just-
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
almost backwards, you would
Mhm.
think. And over the time period, the
Mhm.
average cost, which I thought was very helpful as well.
I'll update that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Somebody's trying to break in.
You're gonna have to add a new front door.
Yeah,
yeah.
Side doors.
Just replaced it.
Yeah.
Center Street's looking good this morning too. I noticed they were scraping and cleaning and pulling weeds and just in time for the new season, so,
Trying to tighten up, we're getting those drains all backed up now.
yeah, okay.
And that, just so you guys know, I know sometimes it might seem like it's a little vague on the stormwater money, but, you know, when the county's out cleaning the storm drains like that, that does come out of that stormwater tax money that they collect and maintain for us, so, you know, another month or so, I'll probably be able to give you send out a report on that too.
Okay.
It shows you where we are and what we spent for the year. So they're not doing it just for free, I mean, it's a pass-through, you don't really feel it, but there is an accounting involved.
Well, you didn't send out 10 people for free.
No.
Dang 'em this morning.
Yeah, so say I was,
Talk about maintenance, those vac trucks, they're always breaking down and they're always in the shop and they cost a lot of money. Thankfully, that's spread amongst the county, you know, so I would never want to encourage us to buy one.
Are we able to, I don't know if this is a DOT thing or not, stencil, this sewer flows to the river?
We've looked at a couple things, but we have to get encroachment permits and all that. And we've entertained a couple things, but we can request anything, we do have to go through that process.
I'd love to see that happen. I watched a woman throw a cigarette like, just right down in there.
Purposely?
Oh, yeah, purposely. She didn't want it on the sidewalk, so she threw it down there.
Isn't that a littering violation? Golly.
Yeah, I'm assuming if she's doing it, others are doing it as well, and this, that whole idea of this disgusting and frustrating.
It's amazing what they back out of those drains. Right now, it's, you know, cups and masks.
I'll call them out on it. I do, personally.
Sometimes it can embarrass
Oh,
you, yeah.
oh,
You can shame them.
absolutely. And it worked usually. Couple times they'll buck up on me.
Yeah, I've seen it elsewhere. People, some communities pour paint, motor oil, you know, all these things down those drains, and not seeing that on Center Street, of course, but
I mean, that's definitely something we can look at, you know, a request like that. And
We had some tags, some one group had permission to do that.
most of them are tagged with a little disc type thing,
Mm-hmm.
that does have that, but I guess people don't probably read
I
it.
never noticed it.
Just like signs.
I think you could paint them purple and it wouldn't make any difference.
You can put a lot of signs out in the alley.
Yeah. It's not much cost. The more we can do there, the better, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. But anything we do have to go through that process. We've learned that last couple of years.
You wanna talk about building and facilities? Any questions about that?
We on schedule?
Oh, the new building? Well, we've got furniture coming tomorrow.
Nice.
And the architect and his team is coming through again today. This afternoon at 1 o'clock, they're coming through to see if the contractors met all the deadlines from before. So,
Yeah.
fingers crossed, you know. If we can get through this week, then we can actually start looking at the rest of our internal stuff to get moving in.
We're talking about the building or building and facilities?
That was about the building, so.
Yes, that's what.
What's have we gotten over the holdup on building permits? How fast are we issuing them? I've been getting a lot of complaints from contractors about just
Well, let me tell you
ridiculous
this
wait
about
times.
that. If you have a contractor complain to you, give them my phone number.
Well, I've been told that by 2 people. I can ask a question. It's very simple.
I'm just saying, give them my phone number.
Okay.
Because if they talk to me, I'll be glad to find out what their problem is and where it's at.
Well, I just said they're waiting for a permit. I mean,
What are
that's
those
high.
Hey, hang on, what are those contractors that complain to me, that
That's
complain
one.
to you guys? It wasn't the building and permit facility, they ask for specific things and they don't get them back.
I just asked a question
I'm just
that was
telling you.
verified by what Aaron responded in an email to me, that there has been a backup in the permitting process, and I'm wondering where we're standing on that. That was it. Because it's not just one contractor, it's all of us. I've asked by a lot of people, what's going on. So I'm just asking a
Like I
question.
said, just give them my phone number and tell them I'll be glad to find out what their contract, what their problem is.
I asked a question to get an answer
I'm giving
that I
you
could
an
get from them without having to get you involved.
Well,
It's very simple.
these contractors.
Anyway,
I have not found a problem that wasn't lack of information on the contractor's part. Happy to share that with anybody.
okay.
We run it very
Aaron
transparent.
told me we were a little behind in permitting and getting the permits out, so we've caught up with that.
Yep.
Because that came straight from our city administrator, that we were backed up, and we've gotten over that. So that's what we're making sure of, that we've gotten back on track with that.
We are back on track.
Thank you.
I can assure you.
That was all I needed to know.
I know we talked about it last meeting, we've got a proposal in front of us to look at, now that Lee's back, we're gonna look at it at a staff level, and then it'll be coming to council about redoing the cladding out at City Hall. That'll be, I guess you'd call that phase 2 of the City Hall renovation.
Stucco repair?
Yeah, that would probably end up in, I don't know if it'll end up in this fiscal year or not, but it would have to come back to council before we even cross that bridge. But the design proposal is in our hands now.
Was that with we talked about some alternates besides the stucco? Was that as shocking as you thought it was gonna be?
They're gonna give us they gave us a design proposal, which would then give us all, estimates. So I'm not quite sure.
Stucco's really not that bad, is it?
They're running pretty
Better
close.
not.
In a lot of ways, they're running pretty close, believe it or not. And I dummy checked that with a local contractor that does major commercial work, and it's interesting. They're not that far apart, really.
And we had that 334,000 kind of plugged into this, that City Hall reserve as an effort towards this.
I mean, it'll-
So even with the concrete shortage, party board,
Well, who knows what'll happen next week when fuel goes up? I don't know, but right now they're running pretty close.
Okay.
The hardy plank was slightly cheaper, actually, believe it or not, on the material and labor side in ballpark in terms, but each job, the nuances of working out here and how much room there is to work, all that stuff will probably change when it comes to
yeah,
actually bidding it out.
I'm just surprised with the cost of the union clothes.
I'm getting told again, though, lumber went up 13% last week. All the local guys are telling us that, it's just like that, so.
As good as our timing was on City Hall renovations, our timing is bad on this part.
Everything was good when we did it back at City Hall. That was really good timing. In fact, our architect is using Folly as an example now to other clients about what a smart move that was. So kudos to everybody here. You guys.
When you deliver the pricing, could you also be certain to comment on useful lifetime of the different
Oh, sure.
materials? Like stucco's gonna last us 20 years, hardy plank, 30.
And we'll try and even factor the maintenance in, like long-term maintenance, and give you a number on that, at least a ballpark on that, because some things require less maintenance than others.
Okay.
Thank you, Aaron, for letting us use your chitty.
Want to do Kyle and the water budget? Or me first?
Either way, do the water and sewer, that's fine.
You didn't bring your copy, did you? That came straight here from Lowe's. That ain't go to the office.
I can show you an electronic copy.
Yeah.
There was no changes to your budget, so
No.
it's pretty simple.
Aaron told me to come straight here, so
Yeah.
there we go. Morning, how y'all doing?
Hey, Kyle.
So right now, the water budget's kind of forecasted to produce about 139,000 or so dollars in surplus revenue. Hopefully that will stand true. Of course, if Kyle he's got an aggressive, capital, plan as far as water line improvements for what we can do with just cash without a water bond. So if he under executes on that, we'll have an even larger profit margin over next year, but I hope that he executes the plan.
Hopefully so.
Yeah. And then this certainly is the bridge over into the discussion on that federal money that possibly could be in our hands before this fiscal year 22. So that would have a big change to if and when we do a water bond.
Is that still 994?
That's still the most recent estimate.
Okay.
Yeah, so that could be huge. So, because we were planning on looking at water bond next year, right? Once we get to a point, probably later into FY 22, we kind of figure out, okay, now we need to start pulling the trigger on these big water main improvements, upgrades. And that would be the time, so.
No word on the grant right now from the federal money that I know of.
My only concern with the water was the installation of those 1,200 meters for the,
We already got started on those.
you think staff will be able to, so that's a lot of work.
It is. Some of them you can change in 5 minutes.
Oh, really?
5-minute change and go to the next one.
I thought-
Take longer to do the paperwork than it does the,
I thought it was much more involved than that.
depends on what kind of box it is. They already got started. I think they've done about 30 so far.
And how deep it is, because
Well, some of them,
Bill's trying to raise.
we're gonna raise them up as we go.
The sand dunes is really moved though, and
Right.
he's trying to get them up closer to the surface.
I may get a contractor, later this summer to maybe work for us for just a week. And they can get a couple of guys and just go through and do a lot, but
Do you
it's,
have money in the budget for that?
yeah, I can get a crew here for about a week, couple of guys.
Okay.
But I'll see how that goes later in the summer.
Sure.
Any questions?
Thanks, Kyle.
Wait a minute. Got sewer.
Oh, yeah, sewer.
Oh, sewer, yeah. Not much change in the sewer.
Goes in and goes out.
Same, yeah, as long as we send it off the beach, we're good. Send it to Charleston.
And we still have that open position from, Mr. Campbell. Yeah.
Barry Campbell's.
Mhm. So we'll have a hire, I guess, coming up. Are you guys gonna advertise for that, or have you had any conversations on that? I haven't been, it's pretty
Yeah,
recent.
we got to advertise, Thursday be 2 weeks, Mayor. And, as of Friday was no applicants.
None.
Thursday would be 2 weeks.
So maybe some shifting, we'll have to.
Well, we
look
got
at.
one applicant, I'm sorry, one.
Oh,
So from a sewer perspective, at our water treatment facility, solid waste that originates Center Street, any areas that are serviced by sewer, goes there for,
No, sir, it leaves, there's a pump station right behind the community center. It goes from that pump station to James Allen.
okay.
It goes to,
What is that large basin at the
that's,
water
that's,
treatment?
that's
public
water
works?
storage, that's drinking water, that's,
In the ground?
Yes.
What,
as well as the elevated,
right.
have 2 storage
I
tanks.
knew the elevated, I didn't know, okay.
But the sewer goes straight from that pump station to, Secessionville Road. Takes a nonstop ride. Then it eventually goes to the treatment plant at Plum Island on Harborview Road.
Yeah, we don't actually have any treatment.
We don't-
Like water
Okay.
or sewer.
We don't, any treatment at all. In and out.
However, you were contemplating at one point the aquifer cistern?
Right.
In which case we would have to treat that water? But we're not, that's not on the board.
It would just be
any longer, is it?
some light chlorine treatment if it's an aquifer.
Is that off the table?
That's off the table. It
Yeah.
didn't, the
We're doing
design engineering didn't work out. It's not a viable solution for us right now.
we couldn't get a grant for it.
So now we're doing
We
this
have the redundant line coming.
redundant line, that's,
That line grant was so
that's
good.
what we're working on now to get funds for that. And that's what we haven't heard back from that.
And then CPW saying it was gonna kick in.
They'll pay half of our
some more
match.
money.
Right. Charleston Water.
They wanna pay half of our match because they wanna sell us more water. Alright,
Very good.
Thanks, Colin.
Thank you, Kyle.
I'll come see you about a shirt too.
Yeah, we'll just go by there.
Okay.
So we have elections, administration, council, mayor, and judicial left in the general fund budget. Do you guys have any questions? We want to start with council and go that way?
Sure.
Alright. So in city council, there's a new one from the last work session. That's a $10,000 reserve for the city celebrations for the upcoming 50th anniversary of the city in a few years. And that's the only change from last go around.
and you already talked about the judicial change.
Sir, there were no changes to the mayor's section in the last work session, and no changes to the administration section in the last work session, or elections, but I'm here to take questions on any of those. All right. Anybody? Any takers?
How have we been handling judicial during the pandemic?
How do you, what do you?
Like in terms of people appearing before magistrate?
So the South Carolina court system kind of sends us down dictates. Court was closed down in public or in person for a few months. They reopened. They've kind of closed and reopened. But our court has been going as normal, generally speaking, for most of the time, except when shut down by the state court system. So we locally don't control the operations of the court as much as the state court system does. So court has been the one thing that's really remained open, except when shut down by the state. But they're back up and live and in person. Since I think April 2nd was when they reopened.
Judge Blue seemed to be settling in.
I think so. She's very eager and excited to be here. I think she's really looking forward to it, and her experience at the livability court downtown, I think is going to bleed over well into kind of some of the things that you see on this docket.
And what are the typical hours of operations at Fridays?
Fridays it starts at 9. And it depends on how big the docket is. If it's a large docket, it could go till 1 or 2. If it's small, it's over by 10:30.
Okay.
It's recommended to attend.
Yeah, I'm going to my next vacation day. I'm going to use some of that time to
Well,
check
yeah.
it out.
It is.
Can the public attend now? Okay.
Any other questions? General government, there were no changes to it. We did look into the Sandsper mailing, and we've not yet expanded that database of mailing to residents who don't have P.O. boxes. So we'll be working on that, but there were no changes in the actual budget since the last work session. Any questions? General government? Okay. Beach preservation? That's as it was at our last work session.
What's normally been our share of the beach renourishment? 15% and dollar-wise, I know it varies, but what was our
The
last?
last time was 5 million.
I mean, okay, just giving an idea of where we need to be.
And then the last one was really what prompted us to juice this up. We've been traditionally getting $15 million renourishments, and our share was around 2 million-ish. Then the last renourishment, which happened right after Sandy, when all the dredges were busy, it jumped to 30 million. It basically doubled, and so we were kind of caught, surprised by that. And so we've been really aggressively funding it. That's when we raised our annual contribution to $1 million.
Okay. And Lee, where's our revenue coming from to fund the beach preservation?
Well, primarily, if you go to your A&H tab, which would be underneath your revenue tab,
Yes, sir.
there's a multicolor, you can see that tan kind of bar towards the bottom of that page. You can see how it kind of flows through. The local accommodations taxes, half of that goes in there.
Okay, and what funds local accommodation tax is
Right, so.
rentals?
Rentals,
Okay.
right. So there's a good chunk that comes from there, and then we also have contributions coming from state aid tax that the city writes their application into that package, and we get a contribution there as well.
So we might have to change that. The new S40
Oh, that's right.
parking law. So
New law coming through.
what's gonna happen is you use paid parking revenues for beach renourishment,
Right.
walk over, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So where we were using paid parking revenues otherwise, we're
Correct.
gonna have to switch to there and then take
Correct.
that money and switch.
Back, yeah, that was
back.
my question.
So
So
you'll see in the future more paid parking revenues going into.
beach
that.
renourishment,
Yeah.
but, okay, that's, I'll sort of
Yeah.
feeding into
Just-
that.
it'll-
Yeah,
it'll
figuring
make
it out.
us- yeah, it'll make us move
change
things
around.
side
Okay.
to side a little bit, but it'll be.
Okay,
The big question mark, I guess, at least in my mind, for the 294,000 last year, and who knows what this year, the county piece. County typically, in the past, we've negotiated, they've basically said, okay, we've got excess local accommodations, tax revenue that we need to distribute, or we desire to contribute
all right.
to the city of Folly Beach. They pay it usually twice a year. Last year, we only got half that payment, and this year, I haven't gotten any contract from them yet. So potentially, depending on what the county's deciding at their level, whether or not that contract will exist in the going future is kind of a concern that I haven't heard anything about. Potentially that, in years past, the normal contribution was a little over, was $400,000.
From the county itself.
From the county
But that's
straight to
derived
beach
From us
preservation.
giving it to them through
Right.
accommodations tax. And that accommodation tax is through hotel, short-term
Airbnb,
rentals?
Yep.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right.
So potentially, if they wipe that piece out, that could, certainly cause an issue.
Impact on revenue, okay.
Right, so we'd be at the $800,000 or $700,000 contribution mark towards the beach preservation fund
Okay.
instead of $1 million.
Gotcha.
Why do you ask that question?
The last time we asked him was in January, and he said that their dire predictions had not come true, so they anticipated being able to go back to past amounts, but since then we haven't had a follow-up. When it all started, they basically zeroed out their accommodations tax and let everybody know, said, hey, we don't expect, they planned for the worst, and the worst didn't happen.
When will we know, if at all, whether this pilot project, the dredging they're doing, building the artificial sandbar, if that is in fact beneficial to us? Is the Army working with Dr. Elko
Well,
for monitoring?
through the Corps of Engineers, their process that they've been trying. They've tried it in other places and it's worked well. Just feed the sand back into the normal system. And, but it'll take a while for that, before they get their information on how well it worked or didn't work.
And then
So we'll see.
Dr. Elko will validate it
And
to
then,
the best of her abilities?
well,
We
Yeah,
survey the
yeah.
beach every year.
yeah, and then they give us their information too, their engineering information, they come back with some information, but, and if you see it on the beach, if it works like it would normally work, the sandbar would, or parts of the sandbar would move onto the beach, and then it'll move down the beach, so where it first moves onto the beach, it looks like a big
Sorry, sorry.
Yeah, right.
Little shift.
But it's better than taking that sand and dumping it offshore somewhere.
Yes. It's good sand too.
It'd be better if you dumped it on the island.
Right.
Just have to wait longer for it.
Yeah, you have to wait longer for it to get there.
How much longer will they be doing that?
I don't know. We asked that question this morning, and, that's a big secret. You and Nicole,
When it's done, yeah.
yeah. That was a, big project we worked on, and Nicole worked on, and she has some contacts in the Corps of Engineers where they've done it in Florida and stuff, so, you know, getting that done through our up here was really a big,
Nice.
big win. 'Cause this is their first shot at it.
When did that become known to the city, that they were going to be doing that?
When they let that project out,
So the first I knew of it was a newspaper article, but I suspect the city knew in advance.
well, not much in advance of the newspaper
Oh,
article.
wow, okay.
Like I said, this has been a big closed door deal. I mean, usually, because they usually tell you, you know, we're gonna start this project and it's gonna run from there to here. But we don't have the other here yet, so, you know. Don't have a clue yet.
Okay.
In regards to that recent email, are we asking the Corps of Engineers to redo our front beach line that's been frozen for 10 years?
We're not asking them to do that. That was an email from, I forgot who sent the email, but
They said he said he supports the
Right.
petitioning. I was wondering,
We,
Well, it
we
came up
have
in the
no,
last planning commission
Yeah.
meeting. That was a recommendation by one of the commissioners.
the city has made no formal request to the Corps or the state to do the baseline. The state has indicated that it is a possibility if the city wants to pursue it, but there's been no action by the city.
And
I
can
think
you
a
remind
couple
us
of council members have, or not, planning commissioners have bounced it around, and it may be included in their recommendations in the comprehensive plan as one of the long-term goals, to look at moving the baseline, but in terms of an actual, hey, would you do that, that would definitely have to come through you guys.
Can you remind us the definitions of baseline versus PEL?
The baseline is the state jurisdictional line on the front beach. The seaward of the baseline is state, landward is the city. The PEL is the boundary of the renourishment project. Generally speaking, they are concurrent, but not 100%.
Is that what creates those gaps that need to be filled?
No, that's when the water gets behind the renourishment line and onto private property.
Okay.
So there's a line on the beach that goes up all beachfront properties, it's the PEL. That's the border of the Army Corps' responsibility for renourishment. So the gap is when the water gets behind that line and the Army Corps can't put sand on private property. The baseline, which generally follows the PEL, but not exactly, has nothing to do with renourishment at all. It's the state jurisdictional line between their regulations and ours. So they run the same, but they're not, they have completely different legal meanings.
and the scalp lawsuit was like when water comes up, that the state's jurisdiction goes with the water?
Yeah, so the scope lawsuit was to get the state to acknowledge their ownership of previously eroded property. And in other jurisdictions, the baseline can move and it's restudied by OCRM every few years. On Folly Beach, it's static, and so it's never moved since it was set in 1992.
and that is because we're not under beachfront management act.
Right. We're exempt.
I guess if that ever comes, I'd need more background about what's the advantage of moving it, what's the advantage of keeping it frozen in time? I mean, I just,
Well, we get the experts in here to talk to you about that, but it's definitely something that couldn't happen quickly and couldn't happen without extensive public involvement and approval from city council.
yeah, the email suggested that we were petitioning and that email was in support of the petition, but I guess it came from the planning board, their discussions, but not.
Yeah, it's nothing that the city has requested.
Okay.
Because even if the baseline moved, permanent easement line will not.
Right.
Not check. So. And if they have to either backfill or probably not asphalt. I don't know if that's, well, they think it's backfilling before, but that was just private individuals going to buy some property far in, but this, I'll buy some sand, but last time, the court come in and said, we're not gonna put sand out here if you don't backfill it to hold it in place. So we're not gonna put sand that's gonna fall beyond the permanent easement line. If you don't backfill this first, up to the line, then we'll take it from the line forward.
And it was the first time they'd taken that approach.
Yeah.
And they came and said, wherever the erosion is behind the renourishment line, not only will we not renourish it in front of that property, but you'll have to pay for any renourishment that happens in front of that property. So that's why we needed to make sure those holes get filled and maintained.
So, that private, homeowner, they're responsible for that, to fill that, and they can either, make arrangements for that through the Army Corps, or the contractor, or have fill brought in from off island. So I see, increasingly a lot of dump trucks coming onto the island with fill, which we now permit
Well,
via.
that on the beach would not be filled, it'd have to be beach
Compatible,
sand.
correct. So, I guess the question's partly in the context of if a private property owner were to source their compatible fill off island to fill these, I think we call them blue blobs on the map, or if they're just doing another project. When these trucks come on island, are they damaging the roads? Or I know that's DOT, but.
We don't track dump trucks coming onto the island, and we don't track if they're damaging the roads or not, so I can't answer that question. I don't know.
Yeah,
We don't track delivery trucks or other large
Right.
vehicles.
I just see more and more of them, and I wasn't certain what the roads
Unfortunately,
tolerate.
we don't know. I can't answer that question. Any others, guys? That's the whole budget. Just in time for lunch.
Oh, TVPC, did you previously say they were going to make a presentation to us?
They make an annual presentation to council usually in June. So they'll come up and they'll go over their budget and what they've decided to do, and you guys will.
Will they provide the metrics of all the digital stuff? I know I've asked for it, and I have not seen any.
We'll make
follow
sure.
up on that.
All right, we'll ask them
We could, just to
come prepared with that.
see what the effectiveness of it
All right.
would be nice.
Do you wanna, I'm confused about, go back to the police budget. Is it okay to add the $24,000 for AEDs at this meeting?
I would make it a motion on June 8th.
But then we're gonna have to go find,
But then in the meantime, we can find $4,000.
that's what I'm saying, we could do that now, because that's consistent with the plan.
If you, where would you like to look?
You wanna,
Add $24,000.
you wanna add, so we're not taking the 36 out anymore, we're gonna add 24?
Well, I think we should put the 36 in a reserve. And then when we have the paramedics and they're up and running, then.
I'd rather hash it out at the meeting, because I don't agree with that.
Okay.
I mean, in all honesty, I think there's more to that discussion than you think.
But based upon what Deputy Chief was saying too, in terms of bringing on board the paramedics, it sounds like we're a year plus out from.
That's why I was recommending the reserve account, and then that way when the guys are there and they're able to go, we can get the machine that makes us ALS. But there's no sense in buying the machine now.
I almost wonder if the machine is in the next 12-month budget, based upon what he was saying in terms of bringing on board the personnel to use the machine.
Well, they can use it as EMTs.
Okay.
That's what he said this
Yeah,
morning.
he did.
But I mean, it's not like we're just sitting there and nobody's gonna use it. But to his point was, he wanted to buy more, put in each police car, and split one around here, one at
ones that weren't Wi-Fi connected, you
Right.
put at City Hall and put here. And then that way, everybody who's on the street, has one that is Wi-Fi enabled. They're $3,000 a piece. We would require buying 8 of them. I think it's a worthwhile expense.
And the AED, can anyone use that?
Yeah.
There's,
For instance, we have one at the church
instructions
hall,
there.
we have one at the church.
And never used one, but supposedly you can't mess it up. You don't put it on right, it won't work.
Just as like a safety committee note, we did, have training proposed for all city staff members to be trained in CPR and AED too. So that they would know how to use it too.
Does that include us?
Yeah.
Great.
You're a guinea pig.
Perfect.
Clear.
Yeah, exactly.
So you just look for some money.
Okay, we can at least cross that bridge now. That's fine.
So, where would you find $24,000?
I need my coins. Need my coins. I mean, obviously, I don't wanna attack anybody's, department expense-wise, so obviously I'd be more revenue-driven. So if you wanted to look
Where
at,
would you feel good about revenue driven?
But Bill, back to what you were saying about 8, you said 2 on the fire trucks, 1,
One on each of the big trucks, the new trucks. One in the rescue truck, the pickup truck they use for the beach rescues and stuff. One for the animal control officer, who's obviously out on the streets. We have up to 3 police officers on the street, so they would just store it, and then when you come in, grab it off the shelf or hand it off to the next guy. So 3 would cover all the patrol. Put one in the deputy chief's car, because Rocky's out and about. And fire trucks, rescue truck, animal control, patrol vehicles, deputy chief, and then the old ones here and at City Hall. That would be 8. That would cover really everybody who's out on the street. It's all about the 6 minutes.
right?
The thing with sudden cardiac arrest is that you don't know it's coming, and when it happens, you can't call for help. You're out. You're down and out. You depend on somebody else to say, Bill's falling out. We need help. Because if there's nobody there to make that call, you're not going to survive.
So besides the 2 that are stationary, the existing ones, which you're proposing for here and City Hall, the other 6 would always be in units that are
No,
mobile?
8.
Oh, 8 in it, okay, and so 10 in total with the 2 existing?
With the 2 existing, it'd be 10.
Okay, and with the exception of the fire trucks, which are stationary and less in use, all the other vehicles are on the move?
Animal control officer, when we get one, will be on the move. The safety truck, the rescue truck, the little pickup truck that they use, that's stored at the police department too. So that's not, but the other ones, the deputy chief and the 3 active patrol officers would all have it.
Okay. I thought we have 2 officers always sort of on duty, moving about, not 3.
Or we're all full staff.
3 per shift.
3 per shift, okay.
Not all the time.
3 would be the most, and by having 3, everybody who's out there has one. It's not a question of, well, the first guy there didn't have one, so we had to wait for the second guy to get there. No matter what truck, no matter what officer, animal control, deputy chief, they would all be ready to rock and roll.
Makes sense. So DJ, to your point, when don't we have 3?
Check out your shift summaries.
Where we're not full staff.
Because someone called out, or because we
Check
don't?
out your shift summaries.
Because we don't have enough people. We're short a person here, short a person there. It moves around to,
So animal control is empty right now because we need that person on
Right.
patrol, and so all of patrol is handling animal control calls.
Okay, well,
Whoever's
that's
up.
like, they were doing that mostly anyway.
Right.
Because most of them come in after the 8 to 3 shift, that's why. You always saying, make that a level 1, LE1 position. use them more readily than just the LE3 that you can.
The biggest thing is when they do transport, and they have to go off island to prisoner transport. And when they do that, if they only have two, then that leaves it short. And that could be an issue.
And they
Bless
can,
you.
bless you. So prisoner transport, bless you.
Thank you.
If we took, one more,
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, sorry.
if we took someone into custody, let's say at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock on a Friday or busy Friday or Saturday night, we have the discretion to hold them for a time that's even a few hours after the bars, restaurants close, so we've gotta take them immediately.
Yeah, we don't have a whole
Still
facility.
have a home cell.
I thought we did.
What we do, but
It was the parking lot.
it was the parking lots.
Yeah,
Oh, right.
it's not anything anymore.
Not used
It's
to.
not there.
It's gone.
Yeah, we do renovation.
It's Aaron's office.
But the problem with the holding cell was you had to have continual
Eyes on
monitoring.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
Person.
So if you had a man and a woman, you couldn't put them both in the same room. It was just, it got to be a real, when they quit using it, it got to be, just because it got to be really, that was years and years ago. they quit using
And they can call county in for help, but it takes sometimes time or EPP when they hire those up, but those cost
So when you're calling county
more
for
money.
help, what would the ask be? If you call county for help?
Transport.
Transfer,
For that to
or
come here
to
again.
fill in and let me transport and let county come fill in for a while sometimes, if they're available.
The best fix we had was Mr. Campbell. We had him, he was LE3, and he did a lot of the transports.
And you could call him on a moment's notice, and if he's home and he's available, he can take him to transport.
He lived on island.
Yeah.
It's cruel and unusual to keep him in the back of a police car for a few extra hours.
Yeah, but then.
Not a good idea.
Not a good idea. They become aggressive. They spit on them and all that
The
weird,
sooner
bad
we
things
get
that happen.
people out of our custody, the better off.
Yeah.
Yeah, the faster you get rid of them, the better off you are.
Yeah, sometimes you have to call ahead to Leeds Avenue and say, you know,
Now,
have the team
on
prepared.
Big weekends, you see the, county
Right, the mobile unit.
mobile unit, and they,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, we get them out of our custody.
Paddy wagon.
The county takes them.
Yeah, okay.
Do they hold them in there? Or like
Well,
have
they,
two or three?
because they have the facility, the individual cages in the back of it.
Yeah.
For a better description, individual cages in the back of that
Cage
truck.
animal.
They put 'em
They
in.
then put them in there and wait till a full load, then they take then they have a receiving team, and it depends on the level of the individual of the receiving team, when they come into Leeds Avenue, and that's
Okay.
Traveling circus.
aggressive
Wow.
intake. So you can imagine. Not pretty, by any means.
To answer your question, sir, probably the easiest way to do 24 grand is I'd probably split 15,000 and add that to local accommodations taxes and then maybe 10 to hospitality tax, and I think we probably hit those numbers.
Yeah, go with it. Write it down.
You want it as a motion, or
Write it down.
you want that on June 7th? Can you make a note of that, Lee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lunch is served.